Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Hump Day. It's Wednesday, August 4th. Excited. Actually, we've been really busy today because we just did a live stream, AMA, with the Relay Zero folks and how to do the swap. And now we're on with our crypto analysts from Market Rebellion, CJ and Monty, who everybody knows and loves. So today's a fun day. And kind of getting pumped up. Even CJ's getting pumped up, and that's a rarity. Monty's shown up with a smile today, and Ryan doesn't have a hair out of place. So, about the markets, but first, let Ryan do his thing, which is talk about the disclaimer that's on the screen.
Just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for informational and educational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and it should not be construed as such.
And one thing I do want to mention to our community is, the first wave of Cent went out for the airdrops for the eligible members. And our custodian kind of messed that up, and they put in the amount of Cent, not the dollar amount of Cent. So some people were like, hey, what's up with this? Anyway, I want to let everybody know, whoever did get that mistake, go check your wallets now. That being said, Ryan, you were going to say something about your White Castle shirt?
Some very happy people got a lot of Cent over the weekend. But if some of our viewers may remember Alex and I looking at the Puma White Castle gear earlier in the summer, and I finally got my hoodie. Look at this thing. It's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. And
look at that. What you crave. Yeah, buddy. Give me some of that.
And this is a great title for the show today because both Monty and CJ are just as pumped as us. They're just kind of cool, calm, and collected, so they're reserved about it. But we're about to dig deep into it. Monty has something to say. Monty is on fire lately. I think it's the haircut.
The happiest I've seen Monty in a while. I mean, if I had a tight fade like that, I'd be thrilled too.
I'm feeling good, guys. I mean, the market's turning up. Like you said, the most bullish indicator I've seen, CJ, is looking happy. So the market is set to rip here.
But just to cover off a few things that we're going to do after we hit the big boards with CJ and Monty, we're going to head into DOT and do a little dive into there. The boys over at Market Rebellion, they did their little research commentary that they put out every week. And this week it was DOT. And so I'm kind of really interested in hearing what that's about. Plus, we're going to go to the Hill in Washington and talk about some regulation. And then also, if you are a fan of food, you may be able to buy some now in Bitcoin if you still have any Bitcoin left. So let's take it away. CJ, Monty, your show, my friends.
Thanks for that, guys. And markets are looking pretty good today. I'm excited to do this analysis because not only is Bitcoin looking good, but the entire price action that we've seen throughout the past couple of days has actually followed technical analysis pretty well and has been relatively predictable. So let me get further into that by first introducing the Market Rebellion platform and just taking a look at these Fibonacci levels that we have drawn here. This is pretty much what's holding the trend together right now. This critical 618 level, or actually the 382 level. That's where we were first rejected after reaching that TD sequential sell 9 earlier, about 5 to 6 days ago. Now we've actually found support at that level just below, the 3.2 level. These are the three most important Fibonacci levels: the 8.2, or the 8.1, the 3.8, and the 3.2. So really nice to see that price is holding in that channel and obeying those Fibonacci levels. Also, the moving average is turning up. It's showing more bullish momentum, and it's looking pretty good. I also do want to talk about the overall structure of this formation and what it means fundamentally when we talk about whales, larger players accumulating on-chain, and what it means. And I think that, I've been studying this Wyckoff method and this methodology to approach the markets quite a bit lately. And we've seen a lot of individuals overlaying this chart on Twitter, myself included. I'm guilty of that. But I think that the actual philosophy behind each one of these moves is much more important than the actual technical formation. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So we have various stages. We have our initial capitulation phase. We have a preliminary support. We have the candle that grabs a majority of the liquidity. And this is where, larger buyers are taking the other side of the trade, is when we have these massive capitulation events and you can see massive spikes in bearish volume. The last test we had of support before our sign of strength really was right here at the turning point of this sign of strength. Now that we've gotten the rally, it's been great, right? It validates this formation even more. And we've seen that sign of strength. But now we have something in the trend that is even more important than the sign of strength. And that is holding support and creating a higher low for the overall macro trend. Because let's say this fails right here, this aspect of support. We could definitely go back and test the lows. But based on how price action's acting right now, based on like the strength we've seen in news today, and I'm sure you guys, Ryan and Alex, you'll touch on that a little bit further, but we're seeing positive news. We're seeing a bullish engulfing candle at the bottom of a downtrend. And so from a technical perspective, this is exactly what I want to see. And I think that we're going to get confirmation with a continuation kind of up to new highs into the 40s and later 50s down throughout August and September. So this is really where we are in this channel. And I think it's essential that, we see a bounce from that level, but we're seeing it. So I think we're doing pretty well so far. And just checking on the traditional markets, I mean, we're pretty much down pretty heavily in the S&P and Dow. So still having crypto hold its head above water while traditional markets are selling off a little bit is always good as well.
One thing I'd like to add is just I want to kind of reiterate the criticality of the fact that we bounced off this level here for Bitcoin. CJ talked about how important it was to kind of establish that for, the overall validation of the Wyckoff method. But I think, looking at what that means for the overall trend is very important as well. And not only that, but what that means for, altcoins and how they're going to perform is tremendously important. And one thing that I've done a few times on this show is kind of gone back to the beginning of the year here at February and March of 2021 and looked at these critical levels and kind of when we started to see new capital stop flowing into the space to determine what levels are going to be critical going forward here. And one thing that's definitely worth noting is the fact that we bounced pretty much perfectly here. This level CJ was talking about, that was a level that was critical earlier in the year in February. I think that's very critical to understand that if we continue and put in this macro high or low, that is very encouraging for the overall trend and really increases our likelihood of breaking through this next critical level of 42K. And looking at the order books, it supports these two channels. It supports this channel, these two levels right here of 38 and 42K. We have a tremendous amount of buy pressure stepping in at 37.5 to 38K. Lots of buyers willing to step in here, both, retail and, whales stepping in at around this level. That's been supported by on-chain metrics. And then the other end of the coin, we have a large amount of sell pressure here at 42K. CJ posted in our community this morning a look at the order book depth, and it was very evident that there is a sell wall here at 42K. So it's going to take significant momentum to break through this level. But like CJ said, I'm very encouraged by our bounce off this critical level and the fact that we're potentially putting in a macro high or low here.
So a few things. I do see that there is quite a bit of support from a technical standpoint, but when you look at sentiment, it is overall positive, but it has started to waver a little bit towards the downside, even if it is staying positive. That 40K psychological barrier has been pretty substantial over the past week. Do you think we have the momentum to finally establish support above that with a sell wall at 42K?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's really what everyone's wondering right now. If we do get rejected by 42K, that would be exactly what I'd like to see, is maybe perhaps some consolidation above 40K. But what we've seen historically is when we sort of bounce off those levels is we get a lot of sell pressure at those levels because of that sell wall. And also, that's reflected in sentiment as well. When we hit those, critical levels at 42K, we saw sentiment start to fall off and price fall off as well. So I think that, that would be something to definitely look for if we don't get above 42K, is to see if 42K can hold up as support rather than resistance.
We've had such a wave of good news today, both from Capitol Hill and, from the retail sector, which we'll get into in a bit. You'd think sentiment would be higher. I guess not to pour cold water on this rally, because I want Bitcoin to go up. If Bitcoin goes up, the rest of the market goes up usually. I feel like we might be in a bit of a bull trap here.
Could be, and I think that will be determined within, the next 3 to 4 days as we retest 42K.
Fair enough.
All right. Okay, let's do this. Let's go straight into DOT real quick while we're all hyped up on the market. I want to hear the report from the Market Rebellion guys.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, I published a trade insight on DOT, but I actually was mentioning it yesterday as something I was watching, and that's because of a more, broad, overarching moving average strategy that I've been applying over the last few months, and actually, over various market cycles, and it's worked really well for me. So here we have the 200 period simple moving average marked by this blue line, and this is the 20 period smooth moving average. And one thing that is definitely noteworthy is just to watch for divergences from this 200 period simple moving average. One thing that one of our analysts does at Market Rebellion is he kind of compares this to sort of like a rubber band effect or a magnet. And whenever price gets too far from this average, we see it, bounce back to it, whether it be negative or positive. It tends to act as sort of a magnet or rubber band snapping effect to price. And this is particularly true in crypto when there's divergence in the overall market. One thing that I'm sure all of you know that are watching this is that the market tends to trend together in crypto. And when we see Bitcoin performing well, the alts tend to perform well also. So whenever I see an asset that is, very far negatively diverged from its 200 period simple moving average, to me, that's just an indication that it's significantly oversold. And I want to quickly just take a look at some assets that have, kind of held true to this as well. Comp is a great example of this, just to a lesser extent. We saw a pretty significant negative divergence from this 200 period simple moving average. And, just in the last 24 hours, we've made a jump up to this level and are now hitting a bit of resistance. And if you compare that to something like what we're seeing in DOT, I think that the effect of, of moving in that direction of, moving back towards this moving average with that magnet effect could result in some profound positive price action. So this is one of the most negatively diverged assets right now from its moving average. We saw a similar divergence in VGX, but that was brought to parity, very quickly. That could be due to like the catalyst of positive news. But I think just from a technical perspective and what we're seeing in the overall market right now makes DOT very well postured for some positive price action over the next week. So I published a trade insight. I plan to perhaps take some profit as we do press up against this level. I set a take profit level of 26.5. I really do think that could be hit as soon as, within a week time frame. So this is one I'll be watching closely over the next week.
I mean, I'm a long-term holder of DOT. I wouldn't mind that. I feel like, they have quite a bit of potential. There's a lot going on in the network, and it feels like with all the momentum gathering behind some of these other protocols that don't have nearly as much going on, it feels like it was only a matter of time until people start paying attention to DOT again.
Hey, Ryan, did you check out Chef Dan's comment on the bottom of the screen there? Did you hear anything about this? I think I may have overlooked it.
I heard rumors of it. I haven't seen anything officially announced, though. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they're trying to become like the crypto mecca. Although we saw what happened up in New Hampshire, so you might want to be a little bit careful about becoming like a crypto-powered community. But it wouldn't surprise me. It feels a bit gimmicky, but at the same time, if a major city says, "Hey, we have our Miami coin," I could see people saying, "Okay, they're behind this. They get it. They understand it." Because it's the old argument, right? People shouldn't be allowed to cover or write about crypto unless they hold crypto. That a lot of people make in this industry, not realizing that it presents a conflict of interest. But if you have a community creating their own cryptocurrency and positioning themselves as the next like crypto valley, it makes sense.
Well, thank you, Chef Dan. Now I just got called out because Rob now knows I did not watch yesterday's episode of Digital Asset News.
I mean, I usually watch them at the end of the week. I like to stack them up and just binge watch Rob's videos. I can't get to them every day.
Yeah, I watch them over a little vino in the evenings and stuff like that. But I was so excited, Puerto Rico, Rob. Anyway, listen, Monty, thank you very much for bringing us that report. It's always interesting. And guys, you can find that over at marketrebellion.com. It's what they do every week. So it's really cool. I like it. It's where I get to get a glimpse of the tokens that I want to watch and keep an eye out for. Also, as well, don't forget, in the description is the Daily Crypto Bite, which is CJ and Monty's, I like to call it their alarm clock, because if they didn't have to do that show, they might sleep in. But that being said, where can people spend money? Oh, go ahead, CJ, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that it's happened before.
Monty looked indignant, and CJ's like, "Yeah,
let's stay on topic here.
Let's stay on topic. One of the things that's interesting is how many places do you know accept crypto for food? And we're about to unleash one, but outside of that, where can you go and pay for a burger or one of those hot dog sandwiches or something like that with crypto?
There are a few places in San Juan, but they're not like large chains. And Dash Direct just launched. They have like 155,000 merchants around the world where you can use Dash to buy products, and like some of them include like Domino's, Lowe's, Lowe's, CVS, Bed Bath and Beyond. So I mean, there are places where you can spend crypto. It's Dash, more or less. And I've used it.
I can't eat at Lowe's. I can't eat at Lowe's.
You can. They usually have the hot dog stand right out front. You can get a nice sandwich there.
Well, who's accepting? Who's willing to take your Bitcoin for a sub now?
That would be Quiznos. So they announced that yesterday, and apparently Quiznos is now accepting Bitcoin. I don't know if it's all locations, but I know that you can buy one of their toasty, melty, delicious subs that blow Subways out of the water with Bitcoin now.
And this was a pre airing conversation we were having, which had to do with Quizno. Is it Quizno or Quiznos?
Quizno.
Quiznos and Subway. I think the majority of this panel chose Quiznos as far as food choice is concerned. But let us know what you think in the live chat too. Say Subway or Quiznos and what you'd prefer.
Also, there are a handful of professional sports teams like the Oakland Athletics, the Dallas Mavericks that accept, I know at least Doge, if not Bitcoin and ETH as well, throughout their stadium for purchases of food, drinks, and souvenirs as well.
Okay, cool.
I think on like a more significant takeaway, I guess, if we are to look at this news in the overall context of the market, I think that it's incredibly important to realize that like the market was still resilient and did not like go through a very hard sell-off during the Gary Gensler session, and with all of the kind of fear, uncertainty, and doubt we've had around the infrastructure bill, and now having price pump on just a little bit of good news. I think like larger buyers and larger operators in the market are almost using this good news as an excuse to continue to like buy and fuel price upwards. We also have a very, very low liquid supply on exchanges, which naturally leads to more volatility when demand comes in. So it's going to be interesting. I think we could be very surprised pleasantly in the next couple of weeks.
I really don't think Gensler's comments were that negative, though. I think they were positive. So, oh my God, you have to pay taxes, you have to report, you have to follow the same rules as every other asset class. Oh God, that's so horrible. Like, really, where is the negative here? If we want institutions to come in and people want coins to actually moon, the only way that's going to happen is if you have institutional capital. And that's going to sit on the sidelines for the most part until there's regulatory clarity. I don't see the harm in what Gensler said at all. The other stuff in the infrastructure bill, that was harmful, and that's why it's being amended. But Gensler's comments, they were common sense, and they weren't unreasonable. And he even said he was open to approving a Bitcoin futures ETF. Right? So I don't understand why anyone saw them negatively. There was some real negative, aggressive comments from some pretty high profile people on Twitter that just, I don't understand it. One of them even like a lawyer. Like, I don't understand where all this negativity is coming from when all he's trying to do is bring clarity, you know?
It's interesting. I was speaking with a big crypto CEO this morning. And we were chatting about Gensler right after he had appeared, which was around the 8 o'clock hour Eastern time this morning. And he brought up a good point, and that point is that things take time, right? So the U.S. has, Gensler is asking Congress to join him in forces and help him support SEC oversight over the crypto aspect. But the thing is there is no framework laid down yet for him to oversee. So there's a lot of legwork that has to go in. This isn't going to happen tomorrow. I don't think it was all negative either. We just all shaking our boots when the big politicians and the big commissioners start talking about crypto. So yeah.
Something that Daryl Lister pointed out in the comments, and I saw this story earlier in the week, and I had my head down and I was buried in a million things. NCR acquiring Liberty X, that is a big deal. NCR is everywhere. They're the leading point of sale system for most retail stores. Like Oasis or Malibu at like bars and restaurants. But NCR is the biggest player in this space. And if they can find a way to integrate crypto payments with NCR, I think, that could be the final barrier. Because if NCR takes it, then all the merchant services companies have to accept it, right? It's like Walmart deciding that they're going to use a specific technology and then forcing everyone else to use it, right? Didn't they do that with what was it, barcodes? They're the ones who made those popular. So, and now the whole world uses barcodes for pricing because Walmart did. So I do think that this could be a major breakthrough. Not immediately because it will take time, but this could be a catalyst for crypto payments.
And by the way, Daryl, if you could tell us what the big medal around your neck is in that picture, your profile pic, did you win a marathon? It looks cool. One of the things, I don't know if you guys saw, we had the big news with Voyager on the acquisition of Coinify, right? And so, listen, we're going to talk to Steve. Ryan and I definitely know about how that can help our business and see what services could be there. But, they just sent out another email today, which is they just went, I guess, a business client for the payment services. So it's interesting to see how this is all going to culminate. I think payments are a big thing for the future, and that obviously will lead to mass adoption through that. There was something else I wanted to touch on too.
I think, the efforts in Congress to rewrite the language around crypto tax regulation in the infrastructure bill, I think are important. So basically what they're doing here is miners, developers, and node operators would be exempt from broker tax reporting services, which is common sense, right? Trying to classify them as brokers and forcing them to file 1099s and other disclosures never made sense. It was never really technologically possible. Having them, kind of be exempt from that makes a lot of sense. And, Ron Wyden, Cynthia Loomis, and Pat Toomey, the senators, kind of spearheading this. And, it's a Democrat and 2 Republicans show bipartisan support for it. And it feels like it makes taxation of crypto transactions more reasonable. And I don't think it'll raise 28 billion like the budget office said, but I think they'll be able to raise some money from it to make it worthwhile and to make pursuing it worthwhile.
Agreed. I'm gonna go to Bill Parker's message about SERM Serum Guys, this is what he's talking about. CJ, Monty, anybody want to pull up the chart and take a tab at it?
I mean, I'm not going to pull up the charts on this one. I don't think it really even needs it, in the sense that it's just above the Williams alligator. It's above its critical moving average. And when you see an asset that can rally like Serum has in the past couple of days, in spite of a neutral to bearish market, when we got that correction down to 37K, that's strong. That is a resilient asset. And I always want to long assets that are consistent with the trend and are trending bullish, despite maybe a slight profit taking in Bitcoin or ETH. Also, if you look, there's an article that's pretty interesting called the 6 altcoins or the 6 ERC20 tokens that Jump Trading is rumored to have bought or invest in. I am suspicious that they are a liquidity provider for Serum in some way or another, or they have personally bought SRM. And when you have an institution that is viable and has a lot of money backing these assets, Solana falls into this category as well. Same with Lena. But I like them a lot for that reason. And I think if we've hit a macro bottom here on Bitcoin and are to spring up, like the Wyckoff accumulation would suggest, then I think alts like SRM are going to rip harder too and follow suit.
You know what's even more remarkable about this altcoin rally and the ETH rally itself? Popsicle Finance had a $20.7 million exploit disclosed today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Being higher. Last year, if that would have happened during DeFi summer, everything would have tanked, at least temporarily before recovering. And now we're still just ripping higher. So it just shows how much more resilient the markets are and how much more liquidity is in them versus the same time last year when everyone was talking about, Uniswap and SushiSwap going higher and higher and higher.
I'll give everybody a non-TTC members a sneak peek here on the daily sentiment and what the hottest is right at this given minute. But you have Ocean Protocol, you have Harmony, Gala, and there's Serum, SRM, falling in number 4 already today. Decentraland, BNB, Anchor, RSR. I mean, there's some really good names that are on the hot list for daily sentiment today. So I think it's altcoin mania is starting to begin. Somebody's organizing a party here.
Hotcoin summer.
Hotcoin summer. Grab a few of them White Castle beers, sit back and so. All right, guys. Any market rebels? You got anything to say?
For anyone who's interested in macro econ, kind of views like Tom Lee, we had Tony Dwyer on the Market Rebellion YouTube channel. Great macro thinker and investor. And I think it starts about an hour-long video, but it starts around the 30-minute mark. Tony comes on and explains what he thinks is going on in the S&P. And it was really interesting. Kind of the takeaway was that, this cycle is no different than what we experienced in 2008 or in 2000 when a massive amount of liquidity was injected into the markets after these falls. It's just kind of relative to what we're experiencing now is like, the next leg up. So he sees us kind of being in a period of time like 2010, just following the 2008 rally, which would of course be our equivalent of COVID. And if you'd like to learn more about that fundamental analysis and kind of how we see the S&P 500 in traditional markets, feel free to check that out at the Market Rebellion YouTube channel because, these macro themes I think are very important to crypto as well, and just having a general understanding of what markets are behaving and doing.
He's a smart guy. I actually wasn't going to mention. We mentioned it the other days, or when we asked you for updates for this week, but I didn't know that was a freebie you were dropping because that's definitely worth the watch for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just one quick shout out to Valkyrie Investments. They launched their Dash Trust today. It's one of the first over-the-counter traded products that has that they will be utilizing staking within the trust as well. So that's a pretty cool product that they put out today.
Good stuff for Steve and Leah.
Yeah, man.
Oh, all right. Very cool, guys. If that's it, we are going to go into the second half of the week, and the market is looking upbeat. I didn't want to jinx it or anything, but I was kind of happy with how Monday and Tuesday looked as far as price action. I meant to ask you guys about volume during those days, but I forgot. There may not be a Trade the Chain episode tomorrow just due to a traveling conflict, but I will let everybody know. And I've already taken one day off, and it's not these guys' fault. So until then, hang on to your handlebars. We'll make an announcement tomorrow on that, and happy trading. And we'll catch you either tomorrow or Friday. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.